Getting a fix on the librarian's position, you set off once again. A noise from up ahead and 3 hard returns on your auspex. You going for your war gear, heading towards you along the tunnel formed on one side of the hull of the trapped Mechanicus ship, and on the other, by the scar of the side of a piece of planetary debris, is an orc patrol. You had thought you had wiped them all out. No matter. You will soon. You soon will have. Just as you're priming your weapons, in a sudden shock of speed, a ravening creature appears from the rift, half hidden in shadow in the rock wall. It proceeds to both decapitate and disembowel one of the greenskins, using 2 pairs of scything chitinous claws. It then bites the head of another before disappearing back into its burrow, a third hapless orc skewered on the end of its razor-sharp talon. You only get a briefest glimpse of the creature, but it is enough for your hypno-banked memories to allow you to identify its genus and species. It is a creature. The creature that attacked the orc with sudden savagery was a Ravager, one of the myriad soldier organisms of the intergalactic entity known as the Tyranid race. Your heart races as adrenaline floods your body, ready for battle that is surely to come at any moment. The greenskins you have encountered upon first arriving aboard the Herald of Oblivion clearly aren't the only tyrannoforms here, but where the gene stealers were the color of purple intestine and white bone, the Ravener hide had a ruddy hue. Could it be that the creatures originated from different hive fleets? Cautiously, you approach the hole from where the Tyranid launched an ambush, shining your searchlight into the hole. You see the walls of the rock glisten blackly, but the Ravener and its victims there is no sign. Well, we're gonna take that baby out. The Ravener species of Tyranid are large snake-like monstrosities that writhe across the battlefields, demonstrating frightening speed. While their terribly sharp talons make mincemeat of their enemies, they are also more than twice as long as a Space Marine is tall, so the tunnel was big enough to let the Ravener through. Even clad in full tactical dreadnought armor, you should be able to still negotiate its burrow with relative ease. The further you proceed along the tunnel, the more the surface of the rock appears to ooze and glisten until you realize that you aren't moving through the rift in a rock at all, but something more like an open wound. You emerge at last inside the chamber that moves within something akin to an intercostal muscular spasms. What you at first took to be a rocky exterior of a trapped asteroid was the shell of some unimaginably huge Tyranid bioship. Begin to make your way through the bioship. With a furious Ophidian hissing, the Ravener is suddenly there in front of you, the blood of the bifurcated orc still painted its claws. Uncoiling an alcove-like sac in the muscular wall of the chamber is another of its kind, where swiftly circles around behind you, cutting off your only means of escape. You have no choice but to meet the Ravener's combined assault. The Raveners lay dead at your feet in a pool of their own slime. A bleeping sound from your auspex alerts you to the fact that Radamus' signal again, that it has his signal again. By judging the direction of the signal, it only means one thing. He's somewhere inside the bioship, trapped like you in the belly of the beast. Swearing that you will not rest until you have discovered the exact whereabouts of the librarian, you leave the Ravener's chamber via the blood-red arterial passageway. Your purity score is greater than 13. Brother, A sigh flash suddenly has you by your knees on a soft, unyielding floor of meat-walled passageway. Brother? The thought words come again inside your head. Is that you, brother? Librarian. You gasp out loud. Aye, it is I. Now listen, I don't have much time, he projects. Such is the force of his telepathic communication that it sends waves of nausea rippling through you. I have the Hive Tyrant's psychic explorer now. Together we can defeat the horror. I know we can. Join me, brother. But do not antagonize the slave beasts of the shift unnecessarily, and beware the Ripper tentacles. And then Radimus is gone again from your mind, and the sick feeling of your stomach passes. Bearing the librarian's warning in mind, you set off again with the Tyranid through the Tyranid superorgan. So it doesn't want me to fight the Tyranids? As you make your way through the photic gloom and blood-red darkness of the bioship's interior, you wonder how it came to be part of the Herald of Oblivion. The Tyranid hive fleets do not travel through the warp like ships of the Imperium or other various... Sorry, I had to cough there. Various alien races, having mastered the instinctive manipulation of gravity fields of the star systems to achieve superluminal speeds instead. However, considering the rent in the bioship's hide, it would seem fair to assume that this particular vessel suffered a catastrophic damage at some point in the past, causing it to enter a state of dormancy or hibernation. If after this it had encountered the Hulk, by dint of its sheer size, could it have pulled it in with its own gravity field? It is highly possible the two spaceborne entities then became combined as the Hulk continued to draw all manner of space debris to itself. But one thought worries you. With both yourself and the potent psyker, brother librarian, stalking the hive ship's foetid steps, how long will it take before the spacefaring superorganism starts to wake up again? The unsettled passageway twists and turns with intestinal frequency until its branches into two distinct paths. All you know is that the librarian is somewhere ahead of you, while the branch, which pathway will you take? Right or left? Right or left? Let's go right. Proceeding along the gullet-like tube of a corridor, your suit's auto-senses alert you to an increase in methane, carbon dioxide, and sulfur dioxide in the atmosphere. You can see the goopy green miasma quite clearly yourself, thanks in part to the bioluminescent creatures scuttling over the walls and ceiling of the natural passageway. These are utility creatures of the bioship that its maintenance drones, cleaners, and lighting arrays. They are not made the predatory hunters or shock troops of the hive mind, but nevertheless their very existence still makes your skin crawl and fills you with a sense of righteous revulsion. Some of these xenoform are small, no bigger than beetles, but there are others, black carapace arachnoids with leg spans over 2 meters, that fill you with a deep foreboding. Attack the parasitic gut dwellers, proceed the passageway without doing anything to draw your attention, avoid the passageway altogether and return to the last junction and take the left side. Well, he told me not to fight, so let's just proceed. The xenoforms take no notice of you and you proceed along the passageway, the bioluminescent glow permeating the tube-like channel subtly all the time as the lamp beetles scuttle out of your way while the arachnoid things move between them on their meter-long legs. You would have expected the hive ship to have some form of early warning system, pheromone markers or snare phages, for example. Perhaps the void traversing beast really is as good as dead. Keep moving. In time, the fleshy pipe you're traversing branches again. This time, you will take the right path where the tunnel becomes more rigid, being ribbed with chitinous protuberances, or we go to the left, heading downwards toward the gently rippling gill-like. Let's go to the right. Let's stay with the rigid stuff. As you proceed along the more rigid tube-like pipe, you hear the echoes of distant chittering voices. Your own enhanced hearing, coupled with the auto senses of your helm, amplifies them, helping you to determine that they are coming to you from somewhere up ahead. It is not long before the tunnel opens up into a large rib-like vaulted chamber, the walls of which are thick with lamp beetles and archaeoforms moving between them, reminding you of herdsmen tending the flocks of your home world, now 100 light years distant, but they do not react to your presence. On the far side of the chamber is an opening to another tube, a form of cartilaginous rings and exposed muscle that leads straight down deeper into the guts of this impossible beast. The chittering sounds are louder here. Enter the new tunnel, descending further into the belly of the beast? Sure. Climbing down the pipe, using the rigid cartilage to aid in your descent, no mean feat in a full suit of tactical dreadnought armor, you emerge into the fleshy corridor, which lacks the lamp beetles you have seen elsewhere, but is filled with profane thorny protuberances like that of urchin spines. My purity is greater than 9. Something at the periphery of your conscious mind, a warning sign from the Emperor himself, perhaps alerts you to the fact that you are being watched. Arming yourself, you spin around just in time as that which was hidden but is now revealed to your appalled gaze. It moves to attack. Brace myself. Previously camouflaged against the wall of the muscular tunnel, standing before you now is in all its terrible glory, is a creature twice as tall as you. A pair of mantis-like claw arches from its shoulders. It is armed with another pair of lethally taloned forelimbs and a mouth festooned with writhing feeder tendrils that make it look like a creature has a mouthful of wriggling annelids. So still was the creature that even your auspex failed to detect its presence. The chameleon lictor stalks towards you, moving in for the kill. Its reinforced armor and rending claws make it a deadly adversary indeed. Oh, that was anticlimactic. You may have defeated the lictor, but you know that you are not out of danger yet. Hunting lictors give off pheromones, which sets other tyranids nearby onto its prey, It would be wise not to hang around here any longer, so you set off on your way, exiting the tunnel and entering a large cathedral-like space. The chamber floor is pockmarked with pore-like craters and pits that look like bubbling tar. They are in fact the bioship's rendering pits. Weapons at the ready, you cautiously make your way between the pools of primordial slurry. Cross the grisly platforms of cartilaginous matter. Suddenly your auspex chimes and you've picked up the librarian signal again. On the far side of the rendering chamber, you pause a moment as you focus your thoughts. Perhaps if you concentrate hard enough, he might be able to spy your consciousness through the fetid maze of the hive mind with his psycher's sight, and you know you are on your way. Only the librarian signal isn't alone for long. Soon, the built-in proximity alarm begins to sound and multiple returns paint the scope with glowing green ruins. Since entering the Tyranid hive ship, how many of the following organisms have you encountered? 1, 2, or 3? 3 or more, so 2 or 3. Your intrusion into this ship has not gone unnoticed as you make your way across the chamber, so you really don't want to fight the enemies. As you make your way across the chamber following the librarian's signal, a brood agile six-limbed creature dart towards you. Between the rendering pits, each of the alien clutches a weapon organism and open fire while they are still some way away. Defend yourself. Termagants, okay. Oops, I meant to attack. Even though you have dealt with the bioship's first wave of defense organisms, you suspect that more will be on their way soon. Quickening your steps, you reach the far side of the ribbed, vaulted body cavity and pass through the cartilaginous archway on the other side, and that is where it hits you. It's like a wave of palpable panic-inducing terror that gnaws at your mind and your sanity with the sheer overwhelming horror of it all. After all, you are creeping through the guts of some vast, spacefaring organism that is only a minuscule part of an unimaginably vast intergalactic entity possessed of an appetite so insatiable even the millions of star systems contained within the galaxy are not enough to satisfy its ravenous hunger. My purity score is greater than 7. Some malign entity nearby is projecting an aura of dread that gnaws at the edges of your sanity, scratching as the back of your mind, bridging your darkest fears and phobias to bringing your darkest fears and phobias to the surface. For whatever the Codex Astartes might say, there are things that even Space Marines fear, such as, in your case, not being able to complete your mission or failing to fulfill your duty to your fellow Imperial fists. However, as the battle brother of the First Company, you know how to use those anxieties and how to turn them back upon themselves, letting it fuel your righteous anger and retributive fury, so that you might better punish the enemies of mankind the Emperor protects. Your declaration echoes from the bony walls of the rendering vault, and hearing your words echoed back to you, you feel the faith revitalize you. You shall not fail your Primarch or him enthroned upon earth, no matter what obstacles the hive mind may have set before you. You gain 1 purity. Proceed onwards. Beyond the bony archway, you find yourself in a much smaller space. The walls of the organ chamber are made of pulsing black flesh etched with a spider's web of what looks like a pulsating blood vessels. But the appearance of the chamber itself is not what grabs your attention as you enter. The monster must be at least 6 meters tall, the bony protrusions on its back reaching even higher than that. It stands on 2 enormous armored trunk-like legs at the end in both hooves and claws. Every part of the xenoform's body has been genetically engineered with only one end in mind: to maim and kill the Hive Fleet's prey. The plates of obsidian purple chitin that cover the ivory flesh beneath are studded with razor-sharp barbs. In one of its 4 taloned hands it holds a bone sword that crackles with neural energy, and in the other it clutches the body of the librarian. You cannot help yourself. The shock of seeing the librarian like this, snared in the claws of the monster, is too much for you. The hive tyrant turns its needingly stare on you, and in the same moment you feel the alien consciousness probe your mind's defenses like talons scraping at the inside of your skull. There is a sinister, self-aware intelligence at work behind those glassy, shark black eyes. Brother, the librarian snaps. Gasps. Stay back. Unconsciously you tighten your grip on your weapon and in your hand. The librarian's own war gear, his force hammer and storm shield, lies not far from you amidst the vicious phlegm-like slime covering the spongy floor. But librarian, you begin, taking a step towards the monstrous tyrannid and its captive. The beast is too powerful, the librarian gasped, clearly in a great amount of pain. It is only then the hive tyrant draws back its limb, clutching the librarian. You see how the horror has breached the library. the horror that has breached the librarian's armor and already has its claws inside his body. But I believe today is a good day for me to die. The hive tyrant turns its gaze on its prisoner, hissing savagely. You feel the malign influence of the synapse creature's psychic powers, so you hate to think what they must be doing to one whose mind is attuned to such an otherworldly sensations. It must be pure torture. You cannot simply stand by and watch as the librarian is forced to endure such suffering. But what can you do? A hive tyrant is a powerful beast indeed, easily capable of wiping out a regiment of Imperial guardsmen by itself. It sounds like you have the option to kill the librarian, to attack the hive tyrant, or to try to run and get the gear. Well, let's see if we can save our brother, so let's run in there and try to take him out. Dismissing the idea of recovering the librarian's war gear until the battle is done, you unleash the Emperor's righteous fury on the hive tyrant with everything in your personal arsenal. You use the Stormbolter. Even a Terminator Space Marine, even an Imperial Fist is going to struggle to best one of the Hive Fleet's commanders in single combat. Only you're not alone. By distracting the monster from the captive in its claws, you give the brother librarian the time he needs to muster his prodigious psychic powers one last time, focusing them into a last-ditch assault on the synapse creature. With a scream of Purgatus, the librarian unleashes an almighty blast of warp energy. It explodes with such a force that just for a moment it looks to you like the librarian has rent the veil between the physical realm and the warp asunder, unleashing devastating forces that utterly consume the shrieking Tyranid. The psychic shock wave picks you up and hurls you against the wall of the chamber, causing you to black out. You lose 2 health points. How am I doing on health, by the way? 16. Okay. I'm still alive. When you come to again, an unnerving calm permeates the atmosphere of the chamber. The hive Tyranid is dead, and beside its gigantan insectoid body lies the librarian. Medicaid sensors built into your burrowed equipment scan his life signs and tell you that what you already know. The librarian is beyond saving. The older Space Marine's eyes flicker open again. Brother, he says with a smile, I knew we could deal with the horror together. He coughs and his eyes half close for a moment. When they fully open again for the last time, as it turns out, you see the pupils of his eyes cracking with the last blue-white vestiges of psychic power. Beware the sleeping god, he says, his voice barely more than a whisper, his words no longer his own. Beware the harbinger of woe, and when death dies, look to the west. Oh, so he's giving you warning about if you were to do the Necron next, they tells you how to escape to the west portal. That would have been good to know. I see what he's doing. This information would have been, oh yeah, they just sum it up for me. This information would have been useful earlier in the tomb ship, and then he is gone. A split second later, you feel the first of the paroxysmal tremors pass through the bioship. It would seem that Radimus' psychic attack on the Hive Tyrant has fed back onto the Hive Mind, and thereby the Hive ship too. Instinct and years of battlefield experience and all the theaters of war tell you you should get out of here as quickly as you can. Turn tail and flee immediately. Recover the war gear. I don't want to go anywhere until I recover. So we're going to recover his war gear first. Examine. The librarian's arms are potent relics of the chapter, and their loss would come at an incalculable loss to the Imperial Fist's future. You may take both the Librarian Storm Shield and Force Hammer, although in the hands of a non-psyker it will act simply as a Thunder Hammer. Without any prior warning, another paroxysmal shudder passes through the bioship, so powerful that it throws you off your feet. Examine the Thunder Hammer. That's a pure upgrade. The flamer's almost out of ammo, so that's fine. We'll take the storm shield. We'll get the the progenitor glands. Enter the code. You enter the code and the grinding whir of the drill bit clamp extrudes from the end of the Medicaid tool, recovering both of the librarian's progenoid glands. You deposit vigorously cyst-like growths into their own cryptogenic stasis chamber inside the apothecarium's equipment. You gain 2 purity. As the hive mind seems to be awakening, it is imperative that you don't linger here any longer than you need to. Get out of this. Did you encounter a lictor on your journey? Yes. Retracing the route you took through the bioship, your eidectic, it's pretty much a fancy term for a photographic memory, implants, enabling you to remember every twist and turn of the superorganism labyrinth's intestines, and you soon find yourself at the rent of in the creature's side by which you first entered the body. You cast a prayer of thanks to the Emperor and your Primarch for watching over you whilst you were inside the hive ship. Get clear of the stinking viscera of the alien monstrosity. You have lost track of how far you have traveled wandering through the derelict, whilst the reading registered on your internal phone means nothing to you now. Some minutes pass like hours, as without anything else to occupy your mind, you recall memories of your induction to the chapter and the campaigns you have fought since as one of the Adeptus Astartes. And then there are hours that pass like minutes, as each new region of the Space Hulk reveals a new wonders and new horrors. Passing through the twisting wreckage of yet another bulk door, you enter a high-vaulted chamber deep within the Herald of Oblivion, which contains something you would never have expected to find here. In the middle of the hold, wedged into an indention in the floor, is the Adeptus Astartes drop pod, 10 meters tall and 6 meters across at the base. You can just about tell that its scorched exterior was painted silver and bore yellow with black hazard markings. Isn't that the what are they called? Iron Hands or something like that? Those are heretics. You look up and can see the hole of the landing drop pod smashed in the roof as it penetrated the Hulk, judging by the thick carpet you dust send rising into the air, still air in the clouds about you. The drop pod landed and was lost here long, long ago. Approaching the deep strike and searching craft, you cannot contain your gasp of horror as you lay eyes upon the symbol etched in the hull plating that is of a armored helm. This is the drop pod, bears the marking of the accursed Iron Warriors. Yeah, see, I knew that. However, the drop pod has clearly been here a very, very long time, and since the Iron Warriors iconography has remained almost unchanged since the Great Heresy, other than the adoption of the chaos, of certain chaos. Ooh, he's got chaos things on there. It might just be possible that this particular craft was deployed during or even before the days of the Galactic Civil War. You find it hard to believe that it wasn't carrying passengers when it launched a Thunderfire cannon or some other slaved robot weapon at least, but some fault must have occurred during its cargo leaving its cargo trapped inside. But was it lost during the Great Crusade to reclaim the galaxy, or during the Horus? Well, let's open the drop pod. Some mechanism or machine spirit was obviously not supplicated sufficiently before the drop pod was launched, so as you scour the exterior of the landing craft for any way to open it, you pray to the Omnissiah for guidance. As your armored hands pass over the blackened hull, you feel something depress your touch. The sensation relay via the reciprocating sensors in the fingertips of your gauntlets. You take a step back as you hear a dull click with a hiss of equalizing atmospheres. One whole side of the drop pod levers open, age-seized hinges squeal in protest. Clouds of cryofog escape from the interior of the drop pod, obscuring your vision. The sudden drop in temperature temporarily confuses your helmet's auto sensors as well. As the mist dissipates before you, you see braced within the Iron Warrior's landing craft something that sets your hearts pounding. The Ancient is twice as tall as you are, as broad as it is tall. Its armored sarcophagus is adorned with a chapter markings and personal heraldry of the warrior entombed within. Along the ancient name Xanthel, a faint light pulses behind the visor slit of the helm-like simulacrum head. As the warrior's autosenses lock onto you, see servos grind into action as the dreadnought stirs. Its voice cracked with age. What is this? How long? Where? When? When the ancient warrior is clearly confused, but then it is hardly surprising. Slowly, the dreadnought's own internal crone answers one of those questions. It is an ancient. As the ancient comes to understand the truth of the situation, so slowly do you. Before you take in the defaced chapter markings of its armor and its flensing claws of power scourge, where you would have expected the dreadnought to be armed with a power fist. The voice that booms with fury of an orbital bombardment is formally faltering, quality gone. The ancient declares, "Too long have I slept, too long have I been kept from the cause of the truth of justice. Too long have I left the most vile betrayal unavenged." With a cruel rending of metal, the dreadnought pulls itself free of the drop pod. Death to the traitor emperor. Death to the lapdogs of the High Lords of Terra. Xanthel, Angel of Vengeance, decrees it. As the metal monster advances towards you with a great clumping steps, you prime your weapons. Xanthel shall not rest until the galaxy is purged of all those who continue to wage the long war against us. The Ancient turns upon its waist, bearing to face you, flexing its terrible multi-jointed talons, with unexpectedly becoming wreathed with the twisting serpents of electrical fire, starting with you. The dreadnought is one lost scorn to the service of the ruinous powers. As a dreadnought, and being a dreadnought, the Hellbrute is lethal, fighting a machine, perfectly capable of slaying an entire battalions single-handedly. However, being a traitor of the Imperium, the Xanthel beast must die. But how can you, even equipped with the armored as you are, take on an ancient in single combat? Okay, let's try a different tactic. The Imperial Fists are renowned for their expertise when it comes to siege warfare. It is a trait inherited from your gene father, Dorn, who was the master of the Imperial Fortress Palace's defenses during the Great Heresy 10,000 years ago. This expertise manifests in part in the Imperial Fist's ability to read the environment and automatically understand how to best use it as their tactical advantage. Scanning the chamber, your eyes alight on a yawning hole where part of the chamber has fallen away in times of the past. All that is left are the grinder struts, which once supported that which is now missing deck plating, and in that instant an idea forms. Xanthrel, Scourge of Orphelia, shall rend you limb from limb. The ancient voice booms from cracking voxcasters in its armor. Retreating before the Hellbrute's advance, you reach the edge of the precipice and step out onto one of the exposed steel struts. The ancient keeps up in its advance. Maybe your plan might actually work. Xanthrel, Petrabo's chosen, shall write his name in your blood, so the false emperor shall know who has slain his lapdog champion. The Archangel of Vengeance clearly intends to carve you out of your armor with its scouring blades. preferring to satisfy its misdirected need for revenge up close and personal. It could have fired on you with its bolter weapons long before now. For a moment you wonder if you have underestimated the beast as it falters at the edge of the precipice, but it turns out it was only finding its footing. It takes a step out onto the girder, and you feel the strut start to buckle under its weight. Xanthel, nemesis of Sycorax stars, shall make an Aquila from your entrails and squash them to a pulp. The dreadnought roars. Unperturbed by the Iron Warrior's curses, you hold your position as the dreadnought moves further out along the girder. Its all-consuming desire for revenge against all loyalist Space Marines has blinded it to its danger inherent in its current situation. When the dreadnought is out of reach of the precipice edge, you make your move. With a cry for Dorn and for him enthroned on Earth, you charge the Hellbrute. Avenge Brother Kale with the holy weapon. In the face of your unexpected attack, the dreadnought automatically adjusts its footing to better brace itself on the girder, but in doing so, the metal toes of one foot miss the edge of the girder. For a moment, the Angel of Vengeance remains where it is balanced precariously on the girder, but then it begins to topple. Its scourge clutches at thin air as its center of gravity is exceeding, and it plunges into the impenetrable darkness of the abyss below. Its screams of impotent fury is still audible long after it has disappeared from sight, and only ceases when it hits the bottom with a resounding clang. You make your way back along the girder, return to safety of the deck plating. Turning your back on the empty drop pod, you leave the chamber and its dark secrets behind. Continue through the... It comes to pass that as you continue your honor-bound trek through the drifting derelict, you arrive at last to the Adeptus Sororitas vessel Spear of Ophelia. This ship, like so many others that have become amalgamated into the Herald of Oblivion, is empty. Its crew and the troops it must have once carried long dead and now naught but dust. The quickest way onwards is directly through the haunted columned halls of the sphere, and it is as soon as you are following the pilgrim's penitent path through the ship that you come across a derelict shrine. Once it stood to the glory of the God Emperor of Man, a symbol of hope. Now it's nothing but broken window panes, toppled candles, and torn banners. Even though as a space marine you do not venerate the Emperor as a deity, but rather as a paradigm of manhood, the ultimately the father of your kind, to see the shrine to his glory in such a pitiful condition still fills you with a sense of loss and great sadness, and so you set about restoring the shrine the best you can. With your... Really? We're trying to save guys and you're sitting here picking up the shrine? With your self-appointed task complete at last, as you are regarding your handiwork, a ball of glowing luminescence appears as if from nowhere in the center of the chapel. The sphere of glittering light expands, bathing everything in its blessed light. You are absorbed into the halo of illumination. Every fiber of your being burns as if it were on fire, but rather than feeling pain, you feel energized, as if there is nothing you cannot do now in the Emperor's name. Oh, hey, I healed and I got 3 purity points. Alright, well, pick up some shit then. I'm fine with that. But the Shrine of the Martyrs is not done with you yet. As you pass through the Temporum doors, you notice the statue of the Battle Sister set within a gloomy alcove above the lintel. Watching over the portal below, her hallowed armaments are in her hands. Only these weapons are not carved from stone, but are actual holy relics of the Adeptus Sororitas, once consecrated by the priests of the ecclesiarchy and enshrined here in past age. Examine the blessed blade. Do you wish to take the blessed blade? Yeah, that's an upgrade. We'll take that. Examine the plasma gun. Do you take the plasma gun? Does more damage, has less strength, but the flamer, we're probably getting low on ammo, so let's go with the plasma gun. Continue to explore the Herald of Oblivion. Alright, well, I think I need to call it quits here for the day. Thanks for watching. We'll continue to make our way through the thing. It looks like, just looking at the screen here as I'm talking, we finally find the sergeant. So next time we'll find the sergeant and see what we have to do to save him and complete our mission or continue through, because we've taken care of the Tyranids, we've taken care of the Necrons, we've taken care of the Orcs. I assume we're probably going to have some Dark Eldar maybe, since we're kind of maybe the Forces of Chaos if we're going to go through each of the forces that we have to fight. So we'll find out next time. Thanks for watching, and if you're enjoying these videos, give my channel a like and subscribe to encourage me to post more content for you. Have a great day.